What?
It's time now for My Two Favorite Librarians. Brought to you by the Copper Tree Boutique in Dales Grand Market, located in beautiful, historic downtown Amherst.
Hi, this is My Two Favorite Librarians. I'm Denise Corey.
I'm Chantel Taylor, and today we are wrapping up 2020, but just the reading portion of it.
Just the reading portion of it.
We're not solving COVID or anything like that.
No, I failed high school chemistry, so I feel like I'm probably not going to be able to solve COVID.
No.
Yeah. You know, I did really well in English class, though. What a shocker. So Chantel and I did a Facebook Live a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about our reading intentions for 2021, and you can still see that video. It's up on our Facebook, the library Facebook, Cumberland Public Library.
Yes.
So that's our reading plans for next year. Just a few days away. Just a few days away.
I know. I can't believe it. We're recording this in advance.
We are recording this in advance because we are taking today off.
Duh.
The library is closed today, and I am probably currently
Still in your pajamas.
Still in my
I will be
pajamas.
in my pajamas as well.
drinking coffee, contemplating what I'm going to do with my day.
Which will be knitting.
Reading, watching terrible things on Netflix, likely.
Yay.
And again, because we are recording this in advance, these are my unofficial numbers.
Do we want to wait till the end?
for the numbers?
Yeah. Do you want to make people wait? Do you want to go over our top 5?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll go over my top 5.
Do you want to go back and forth?
Okay. And I should mention too that this is just our top 5. But we will be posting top 5 of staff members on our website. Any of the staff who want to take part. I already have a couple lists, so they'll go up there and you can see what other people's top 5s are. And by top 5, we don't mean books that came out this year necessarily, just the top 5 favorite reads of this year.
Of 2020.
Of 2020. What's your...
No, you go first. We'll go depressing and then we'll go fun. Do we want to start at number 5 and go back?
I don't know that I have mine exactly in order.
I do.
Okay. So I think I can wing putting them in order. And mine aren't depressing.
Lies.
They're not depressing.
I doubt that's correct.
Okay, number 5. Devolution, a first-hand account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre by Max Brooks.
Depressing.
It's really good.
About the destruction. I mean, not that we humans don't deserve some destruction for what we're doing to the earth. Not that I'm a real warrior.
This is fiction.
Yes, it is. Sasquatch.
Don't exist. So Max Brooks.
2020 could still happen. There are a few days left.
Sasquatch, aliens, and murder hornets. They're all teaming up.
Yeah.
So this is by Max Brooks. He wrote World War Z. And this is that same sort of thing. It's primarily set on diaries and written accounts of Sasquatch. I thought it was really good. And it is my number 5 for the year.
So my number 5, not about massacres, Espionage and Engagement by Penny Reid.
What a shocker.
Yes. So Cletus and Jen are back. I did not have a great reading year this year, which we'll talk about when we do our numbers. When the description for this book came out, I was like, I don't know. This was an absolute delight. I listened to the audiobook version. I waited until September, October to get it when the audiobook version came out. Loved it. So delightful to be back in Cletus's world again. Loved it. And this is not a romance. It's a cozy mystery, and there will be more going forward. Number 4.
Number 4. 9 Pints, A Journey Through the Money, Medicine, and Mysteries of Blood by Rose George.
Delightful.
I found it fascinating because she talks about blood donation and blood donation for money and how that affects the system and getting blood, how they can separate blood into all these different components, and that she also talks about menstruation. It's just really interesting. It covers everything. It goes all over the world. She goes to a place where they breed leeches for medical uses. It's got everything.
Uh-huh.
It's really interesting.
Love Lettering by Kate Claiborne. I read this very, very early last year. I think it might have been my first book of 2020. And again, I listened to the book, and it's about a girl who has sort of made a career for herself, like creating, like she hand letters, wedding invitations, and she's doing fancy planners for people. And she and the hero walk through New York, and they, like, everything she sees in her head is lettered in a certain way. So if you yell at her, you're going to have a different font than if you're like crying. So it was a really interesting, sort of unusual little book, and I loved it. It was one of my, well, it's my number 4 read of the year.
Number 3, This Little Light by Lori Lansons. Set in the near future, it is what the U.S. could become. The U.S. is very right-wing, and a lot of women's rights are being rolled back. But this is from the point of view of a privileged young woman who gets tangled up in, I don't know if it would be a terrorist act. Anyway, it's really interesting. It's a good read.
Depressing.
Well, it is actually kind of depressing.
Because we're basically living it.
It's depressing. Yeah.
So my number 3 is Witches of Brooklyn. And this is a middle school graphic novel. It was a new book. I follow an Instagrammer called Kit on Lit. And she does like book recommendations, and she does book lists, and anything she raves about, I immediately go and buy for the library. This was a nice book. And I don't mean that in a like demeaning way. The character, her mother has passed away, and she moves in with her aunt. So you've got your fish out of water. She met nice friends at school, and she gets along with her aunts. And it's like a little paranormal, and that they're witches, and they have to help this like celebrity who's had a curse put on her. And like it was such a nice read, and I enjoyed it immensely.
My number 2,
Yes.
Trickster Drift by Eden Robinson.
Oh yeah, you're a big fan of this series.
So Trickster Drift is the second book in the Trickster trilogy. And the first book is Son of a Trickster. I read both of them this year, but I just like Trickster Drift more, which is unusual because usually the first book in the trilogy is so strong. Trickster Drift is great, and they've announced Return of the Trickster is coming out in 2021.
And CBC did a like mini series or something based on this series, right?
And Son of a Trickster was one of the Canada Reads titles from this year. Yeah, I'm so excited that Return of the Trickster has been announced, because I do know that Eden Robinson had some health issues that meant she couldn't write. So I'm assuming that must have gotten better if she's got this book coming out.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah. Your number 2?
My number 2 was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. So when I was house sitting in June and I had to walk the dog twice a day, I would put in my headphones and listen to this book. And I love this book. So the first book is called Get a Life, Chloe Brown. The second book is called Take a Hint, Danny Brown. And the third book coming out in 2021 is Actor Age Eve Brown. So they're 3 sisters. They're British, and it's a really kind of fun, quirky series. In the first book, the heroine has fibromyalgia, and she's become really isolated from her life except for her family because her friends don't really understand. So she has to like sort of live a certain way to like take care of herself so she feels best. So she's now working at home. And she's almost hit by a car, and she decides, look, I'm going to do all these crazy things, and her downstairs neighbor is going to help her out with them. It's so much fun. I love it.
And my number 1 book for 2020, which I know you are going to disagree with, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I had a hard time deciding because I also loved her book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo,
which I loved.
But I enjoyed Daisy Jones and the Six more.
No.
And it's led me into a thing where I started reading all this stuff about Fleetwood Mac and listening to Fleetwood Mac music.
I believe they're making a movie out of that too.
I believe that they are, and they'll probably just ruin it.
They will. Don't worry.
Yeah. What was your number one?
Do you want to guess?
No. I'm
Come on,
terrible
you know.
at those.
You know what it is.
It's a romance.
It is a romance.
I don't actually listen to you. It's Sarah McLean.
No, it's Wolf Gone Wild by Jeanette Cross.
You know
No,
what?
Juliet Cross.
Juliet Cross.
Juliet Cross.
If my list had been longer, I might have included that because that was really a fun. It was a fun book.
So basically between March and May, I did almost no reading whatsoever. Like I was really, really not reading when we were like in the depth of pandemic the first time. And this was the book that sort of brought me back. And it was on a lot of lists from last year as one of the best romance of 2019. And I bought it for the library coming back in 2020. I look through all those lists and sort of like buy things that I think we should have and that I want to read. And I loved this book. I loved the whole series. The second book came out in September of 2020 called Don't Hex and Drive. I'm waiting for the audiobooks now. She announced like maybe in November that the audiobooks were being recorded. So I'm hoping in 2021 that I might be able to get to hear Mateo and Alpha arguing back and forth with each other. Loved this book. If you've never read a paranormal romance and you want to start somewhere, this is a great starter paranormal romance.
It's fun and funny. I mean, it has some like dark portions in it, but they're not super dark.
It's not like Immortals After Dark or like
which I loathe.
Yes, but it's not like not everybody's really tortured, and you know it's 5 sisters and they live in New Orleans. They're witches and there's vampires and werewolves and a Grimm. It's so fun.
It's cute. So, yes, that's our top 5 for the year.
Yay.
But you can also find these posted on our website. That will happen in January.
Yes.
And other staff members' top 5 as well. Now, how many books did you read this year?
So I feel like Ron needs to insert a drum roll. So, as I just said, I had a big chunk of the year where I really wasn't reading anything at all. I really stopped reading. So I managed by the end of the year to get 68 books.
That's still really good. That's
was
more than
excellent.
a book a week.
I'm very pleased with myself. One of my reading goals for 2020 was to get into more cookbooks. And unlike a lot of the world, I did almost no cooking during pandemic. I mean, I cooked to eat, but I didn't like make sourdough or make fancy weird things. Not weird things, like fancy things that I don't normally make.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the year, I kind of picked it back up again. And I think it's a goal I'm going to try to like take into 2021 to read more cookbooks.
I read...
Oh, wait. Another drum roll, please, Ron.
I completed 88 books and 48 of the 50 Pop Sugar Reading Challenge.
That's so good.
So close.
That's so good. So what did you have left?
I had left a book that included vision impairment or enhancement. So it's like a reference to 2020 vision. And a book with no images on the cover, only words. And I have those books at home. I've just not read them. Now, today is December 28th, and I'm not going anywhere. There is no New Year's Eve party this year that I'm traveling to. So there is a possibility that I can complete another book this year. It could happen.
Didn't you read the Hank Green book?
I didn't finish it.
Oh. I still think that would count as like your Pop Sugar because that's got no...
I didn't finish it though. So
you still read it?
No, it doesn't count if I didn't finish it.
Why doesn't it count?
That's my rules.
Look, Adam, stop being so difficult.
When you do these reading challenges, and I'm on a Facebook group for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and people will ask, like, would you count this book as this category? And it's like, count whatever you think fits. It's supposed to be
We're going to
yours.
be talking about reading challenges next week. So save that for next week.
I did read less than I usually would.
I did too, yeah.
And I was kind of getting down on myself about it because I thought there were weeks when I was home. But, it was really hard to concentrate. I was doing a lot of online meetings and...
Well, also, like, planning and then 2 minutes later having to replan to, like, make up for... Like, everything changed at such a fast pace.
And, we had to shut the library down so quickly because basically it was...
One day we were planning March break, and one day we were like, okay, no food and no shared, and the next day we were closed.
Yeah. So... And it really did take a toll on my ability to read things. Plus, I had to read a lot of government, like, reopening plan things and write them. And so, yeah. I'm just going to say 2020 was different. And I can't hold that against my...
Well, and the thing is, it's not like you read 5 books.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with only getting to read 5 books in a year. You fit in what you can fit in your life. Life took a lot of precedence this year.
Life was difficult. But let me tell you what I'm reading right now.
Okay.
So remember last week when I talked about White Elephant?
Yes.
The Christmas book with the ribbon on the front with the blood.
Yes.
And it looks like a cover of an 80s like horror novel. I started it. Now I'm only 2 pages in. That's it. I don't know.
2 pages can sometimes make or break. I've stopped reading a book after 2 pages.
Here is the thing that threw me off right away. It's set in Aspen, and this woman is organizing a holiday party, and she's talking about, her name is Claudine, and she's talking about a foot of snow coming down in one day, and that being like a one-day record for Aspen snowfall.
What?
And I thought,
Lies.
okay, I know a foot of snow is a lot because I don't want to shovel that, right? That makes me cranky. It's 30 centimeters. 30 centimeters makes me cranky. But really, record setting for a ski town in the mountains, a foot of snow in a day is record setting? Really?
Yeah, that seems like pretty...
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get past it because I'm cranky already. I don't know. What are you reading?
Well, I'm reading a holdover from Christmas now that I know we're recording this in advance, but I know by like December 20, I don't know when's this airing? 28th?
28th.
I'm going to be like full of dip and cookies, and I'm going to be looking at like, I'd really like a steak and some broccoli. Like I'm going to be looking for...
Oh my goodness, I need a salad.
Yes. But I am reading Dory's Cookies by Dory Greenspan, which is a cookbook. And I have a very love-hate relationship with Dory Greenspan. I've tried to make a few things from her French cookbook, and it's never really worked out. So I would like to try a cookie recipe. So perhaps in the new year, like maybe in February when we're ready to eat like
Junk
sweets again. Because I plan on filling myself with a lot of food love this Christmas. A lot of it. And so... I'm going to try to make something.
And speaking of cookbooks, on January 30th, you and I are going to do a Facebook Live.
Yes.
And it's A Homemade Life by...
Molly Weisenberg.
So it's kind of one of those memoir-y
It's not kind of.
booky
It is a memoir.
things, but it's got recipes.
It does have recipes. It's basically she's going through her life, and she is sort of... attaching memories to food. Like she comes from a foodie family. Her dad was really into cooking, and her mom was too. So like, the sweets that they make at Christmas
You're going to have to save this for the Facebook Live.
I'm just giving them an example so people will want to read it.
January 30th, Facebook Live. You and I discussing food memoir.
Yeah.
A Homemade Life.
By Molly Weisenberg. My favorite of her books.
So.
Brain.
Shuts down while we are closed because we have a lot of closed days happening right now
and reduced hours.
Do not forget that we have all kinds of electronic resources. We have Overdrive, which has ebooks and audiobooks. We have Hoopla, which has ebooks, audiobooks, music, movies, TV shows. And we have RB Digital, which is e-magazines. And they're popular ones too. Like I've read some good stuff on there. And all you need to access these is a library card, and it is free. So
Yes.
you can borrow books from the library.
Even if we're not open.
In your pajamas, sitting on your couch, wiping the cookie crumbs off of your shirt and borrow a book. Perhaps a book on salads.
I have a salad book that I'm going to order for us today. I've been watching a lot of Vlogmases, which are people who blog on like YouTube, so blog their life. And I have one who she posts a lot of cookbooks. She's about the same age as me, and I feel like we have hit a lot of the same touchstones in our lives, except she's married with children, and that changes things. But she's a big cookbook lover. She has a lot of good cookbooks, and every time we do something, I write it down and order it from the library. So there's a salad book from a place in Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a salad book on the way.
Okay. Next week, 2021. Wow. I know it's going to be much the same as 2020, but I have hopes that by the end of 2021, things will be much better. I have hopes.
I can't even say what I'm going to say because it could jinx us.
So next week, we're going to talk about reading challenges.
Yes.
And the ones that we are doing.
And also, there's lots and lots of reading challenges out there.
Tons.
A wide variety, no matter what you read.
So we will talk about that next week.
Bye.
Bye.
My 2 favorite librarians. Brought to you by the Copper Tree Boutique in Dales Grand Market, located in beautiful, historic downtown Amherst.